Or I'll say we'll continue with the remainder of this transmission for this day of your time. By allowing there to be more questions if clarification on anything that we have discussed is required before we continue the transmission for tomorrow, because we will be going into deeper territory and we want to make sure that what you bring with you is clear and understandable. So are there further questions? Yeah. All right.
Hi, I have two.
And to you, good day.
You too.
Speak up and be bold so that all may hear what you have to share.
Okay, thank you. Two questions, please.
Yes.
One, your reinforcing element in the belief system.
Yes.
Is that similar to what I've learned about the ego? I learned that the development of the ego in us was actually for physical survivability, and the reason why we like to have things happen over and over again is so that we can recognize the danger in order to be able to deal with it.
One of the reinforcing mechanisms does have to do with the construction of the ego and the issue of survivability, because as long as the ego is made to believe that any change requires the ego to die, then the ego will go into survival mode and reinforce the idea of the reality it considers to be safe, even if it is not a comfortable reality.
Thank you.
Yes.
And the other one is the 2 strands of DNA plus the other 10 equals a total of 12.
Yes.
How, I'm sure it must be, is it? And how is it related to the 2 tribes of Israel, the 10 lost tribes of Israel, which would be the 12 tribes of Israel?
The idea is that the knowledge in general of the 12 strands has been interpreted in many ways symbolically throughout different aspects of your society, so that each culture in your society would have a way symbolically to relate to that notion of going back to source.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes. Thank you.
Any other questions for clarification? Yes, oh, all right.
Good day, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Bashar, would you please give an analogy, or maybe I can give one to you that you could specifically demonstrate to me the power of illusion and what was the other way?
The illusion of power.
Yes, thank you.
Well, in other words, on your planet, you have people that think that forcing their point on someone is a powerful thing to do, to get their point across. They are caught up in the illusion of power, thinking that you have to, in some sense, force your opinion on someone so it will make a difference. You have to force your reality to conform to what you desire it to be. That is the illusion of power. Whereas the power of the illusion is understanding that if what you believe in is innately a part of existence itself, then it automatically contains power, and you don't have to force anything on anyone. Because if you have to force something on someone, obviously what you're actually saying is that you don't really believe in the innate power of that idea, in that you would have to force someone else to go along with it. Do you follow that?
I do.
So the idea in general is that the greatest power actually requires the lightest touch. That's why what you call God is completely invisible. In that sense, that which has the greatest power does not need to exercise or force the idea on anyone, doesn't have to demonstrate it, it just is powerful, because it is what it is. So any concept, any idea that is a reflection or an expression of what is true, what is at the core, doesn't need in any way, shape, or form to be formulated in a, shall we say, fashion to convince anyone, because in that sense, truth will ultimately out anyway. And if you feel that it is something you have to desperately force on someone, all you're simply saying is you don't actually believe in the power of the idea yourself. And you're falling into the illusion that power is something you must force on others. Look at it this way as well. If you have a set of building blocks, to further the concept of an analogy, and you have these building blocks scattered on the ground, and then next to it you have a tower, in that sense, built out of more building blocks. If you will answer the question, what will require more thought on your part, to build a new tower with the blocks scattered on the ground, or to simply push the other tower over and destroy it? What will require more creativity? Yes, yes?
Yes.
Building the tower.
Right, yes.
Thus you can understand that creative acts are an expression of the same kind of power out of which existence is created, whereas the concept of destruction is really not an example of power at all, because it is really easy to do. You understand that
Yes.
analogy?
Yes, I do.
So there are different ways to look at this concept. But succinctly put, people that fall into the illusion of power actually believe they have to control things to get them to happen. People that understand the power of the illusion understand that things already do exist, and all they have to do is allow it, not make it. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does.
Does that help?
It does. One further thing, if
Yes.
I may. If then, I mean, I know generally speaking, if, say, I have an emotional reaction.
All right,
to
I
what-
have an emotional reaction.
to what someone does or says to me.
Yes.
And like you said, of the process of just pausing.
Yes.
And just kind of saying, okay, I recognize that perhaps what just happened has nothing to do with me. Something along the lines of what you said, that if, say...
It may not.
It may not. But yet...
But your reaction has everything to do with you. So examine whether or not your reaction is what you prefer. This is not about suppressing emotions. This is about acknowledging what they are for what they are.
So sometimes then part of that process is just allowing the feelings to come up.
Absolutely, you must allow them. If you don't allow them, you can't work with them. You can't own them. You can't change them.
I guess I started thinking that the reason I was having an emotional reaction
Yes.
was that I had a belief that
Yes.
this person or the situation, there's no shoulds, but if you excuse my should in that
All
moment,
right, I will excuse your shoulds.
that I must have a belief that this person or people should not treat other people in that way. And I think that that's what was causing my reaction. So now in our dialogue today, I was thinking about that.
All right.
That is that why I'm having the emotional reaction, since you say that a lot of times we have the emotional reaction because we have a belief about it.
Well, in other words, the belief might be more appropriately phrased that you feel that the way they are behaving is in some sense devaluing you.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
So you have a belief in the possibility of being devalued.
Yes.
Otherwise, you wouldn't react to it. Because you see, all emotion comes from belief. If you don't have a belief about something, you don't actually have an emotional reaction to it at all. If you understood that they said something that had absolutely nothing to do with you, there would be no reaction. There would just be an observation of what they're doing. And you might recognize through a neutral observation that they are behaving in a negative way, and so on and so forth, but you wouldn't have an emotional reaction to it in that sense. The only reason you would have an emotional reaction is if you are taking it personally, and that means you have a belief that something about what they're saying is actually true about you, or might be true about you, and you might be afraid that it is true, and so you have an emotional reaction to it in that sense on a negative side.
I see. Otherwise, I would not be having an emotional reaction.
No, because why would you if what they said had nothing to do with you?
I guess that's where I'm in the process, Bashar, is in my thoughts.
Yes.
I recognize that, I mean, I'll even stop and say, well, maybe they're just having a bad hair day, okay?
Well, that's fine. It's all well and good to understand that it's not necessarily personal in that context,
Yes.
and to recognize that they may be going through their own process, which is
Yes.
usually the case.
Or their own pain, or...
Yes, of course.
Yes.
And you can use that understanding and that perspective to also give yourself moment of pause to recognize that it really fundamentally may have nothing to do with you.
Yes.
At the same time, without a negative emotional reaction, you can always listen to what somebody is saying and decide whether or not it's advice that can be incorporated into your own understanding of yourself, or whether it really does have nothing to do with you.
Okay. But if the emotion still comes up, like you said at the beginning...
Then you are continuing to choose to believe the same thing.
I guess that's where I'm a little bit not unclear, because
Yes.
I'm looking at that and going... The sadness that sometimes brings me, it doesn't feel good, and I would like, I'm conscious of wanting to
Yes.
change that.
All right. But the idea is that if you keep choosing the same reaction, then you probably haven't yet really gotten to the core belief underlying it. You may have gotten to one belief, but you may have not gotten to all the beliefs that underlie that. So you need to keep digging to find out what other more fundamental beliefs might have been imprinted within you that would be still causing you to choose the same reaction to the situation, even after you say you recognize you don't need to. But if you keep doing it, then it's possible you have not really found the core definition that is defining your emotional reaction. So keep looking.
I see.
Does that make sense to you?
It does. And until then, it's just a practice, or these situations are gifts for me to...
Absolutely. You see, that's the whole point about why I said it's not about, well, I've changed, why am I still seeing the same kind of people in my life, acting the same way?
That's right.
You constantly give yourself an opportunity to actually find out whether you really have changed or not.
That's right.
Because that's the way Earth is. So the point is, again, not what's happening on the outside, but how you respond differently to it, even if it looks the same. That's when you know you have changed, and that's when you know you are really on your way to mastery.
And there's really no perfect kind of goal, Bashar, that as humans that we're never not going to have a reaction to things. I mean, sometimes
you will always have a response. It won't always be negative. In that sense, you can get to a place where you simply don't have negative responses. You simply see everything as an opportunity, as a challenge, as something exciting, as something unexpected, as something new, as a gift. And you never look at it as an obstacle, an impediment, an intrusion, or something that doesn't belong there. Never. You don't have to look at it that way. No. You can arrive at a place where you don't look at it that way anymore.
where it's more neutral.
Where, in that sense, it's neutral and then it's positive because you choose it to be positive. Even if you can't understand how it might be positive at the moment, you choose to believe that it is, so that in choosing to believe that it is, you will ultimately get the effect that it is in your life, no matter what anyone else's intention is in the interaction. Someone can have a negative intent toward you, but if you understand that you've attracted them into your life in order for you to get a positive effect out of it, then you will only get a positive effect, no matter what their intention is.
I see.
Do you understand?
Yes.
It's what you put into it that determines what you get out of it.
I see.
And just because you may continue to attract those kind of people in your life doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It just means you're on planet Earth for now. Does that help?
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bashar.
You are welcome. Any other questions in the brief time remaining for this transmission? All right. Good day.
Good day again. Something just hit me.
Did it hurt?
No, it felt good, actually.
Oh, all right. Very good.
Well, if I want to be sure I'm onto something right here, though. I think I am, but well, anyway. Something that's come up for me over and over and over for the last year, whatever, is that you get what you're afraid of.
Yes.
It becomes the focus.
If fear is based on the strongest belief, then yes.
That's what I was going to ask. Translating it to what you're saying, or extrapolating what you're saying today, then that's because you believe, you wouldn't be afraid of it if you didn't believe that it were true.
Not really. But again, it's all about how you use your fear. In other words, again, remember when we talked about the idea of redefining everything. You can even redefine your fear. You can feel it, but then redefine it. What is fear? Well, I'll give you some hints. Fear is exactly the same energy as joy. It's exactly the same energy. But it's being filtered through belief systems that are out of alignment with your true self. And that's why it's felt as fear. The fear is there, therefore, as a messenger saying, hey, you have belief systems that are out of alignment with your truth, and therefore you're feeling your very own energy in this vibrational way that you translate as fear. So I'm here to let you know you have a belief that's out of alignment. So fear in that sense is a good thing.
Right.
It puts you in touch with the fact that you have a belief you might want to change. So if you redefine fear in that way, then it's okay to feel it, and it's okay to use it in a positive way. And thus, when you use it in a positive way, you'll make it less likely that you need to experience it as fear in the future, and in fact, you will start experiencing it more as joy, or excitement, or curiosity. You follow me?
Yeah, I do. And again, thinking another step further for me is...
What is the thing you keep doing over and over and over again?
Me personally?
Well, you brought it up. If you want to go into that detail and make it personal, that's all right. If you don't, we can leave it general.
Well, no, I don't. Offhand right now, I don't know because I am in a big state of flux, so I just...
Big state of flux.
Yes.
Oh, all right.
A state of big flux?
All right, yes, and?
Well, it doesn't feel like anything's that constant right now in my life.
Well, that's all right. Is there something wrong with that?
No.
Oh, all right. So you are okay with where you're at? Yes, no, maybe?
Not completely no.
Oh, all right. So where would you like to be?
Somewhere else? No, I'm kidding. Well, I know the right answer is where I'm at.
Well, but are you doing the things that really give you joy in your life?
More than I used to.
More means
Well, no, I had to
no.
I said more than I used to.
Yes, I know. I'm having some fun with you.
Believe me, that's a big step.
All right. Well, then you're on the path of continuing to do more and more and more of the things that excite you. Mm-hmm. But if you are feeling in a state of flux, you could probably be doing even more.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, you see how quick that response was? Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, then, do it. What's stopping you? Oh, that's a good question, Bashar. What's stopping you?
I just wanted to ask you about fear.
Yeah, well, we're talking about fear. We're talking about fear. What's stopping you?
Well, I know the right answer is me, but...
But what specifically? What are you afraid of?
Don't deserve it, screw up, hurt people.
Are these
I won't
real
do what's
beliefs?
expected.
Are these real beliefs?
At some point, some of them have been, yeah. And
All
they've
right.
been deep, too.
And where did you buy those from? Would you like to sell them back?
Oh, yeah.
Well, go ahead. What's stopping you?
Well, I don't, it's just been
See,
a
here's the
process.
perfect issue and the perfect example and analogy of foundational beliefs. You are already aware of certain beliefs that you may have bought into, such as I don't deserve it and so forth, and you can actually readily bring them to the forefront of your consciousness and speak them aloud. And yet, still, you feel stuck in certain areas. Yes?
Oh, yeah.
Therefore, the fact that you've already discovered a belief such as, I don't deserve it, and yet you're still feeling stuck, means there's a fundamental belief even under that one you haven't found, that you need to find.
Yeah.
Such as, I may be aware of a belief like, I don't deserve it, and I may think that when I discover that belief, I've dealt with it, but either I really haven't dealt with it, or there is another belief that actually prevents me from dealing with it. Those are beliefs too.
Right.
So you have to find out if it goes that deep, and if it's phrased in such a way that one belief actually prevents you from finding even the idea that you have another belief.
Yes.
You see?
Oh, yes.
All right. Well, you need to dive a little more deeply then. But the process is the same. All you need to do is go deeper with it. And say, if I've discovered a belief and identified it, and still I'm behaving as if I have it, there must be another thing about how I'm relating to that belief that involves another belief that's still allowing this belief to seem the most likely thing to do.
Right.
Does that make sense to you?
Total.
Does that help you?
Yeah, any hints?
Well, I already gave you some hints.
No, I mean where to... Yeah, thank you.
Oh, I just told you.
Oh, okay.
You named a belief.
Right.
I don't deserve it.
Right.
Do you still believe that?
I'm learning not to.
You're learning not to.
Well, that's all I can
All
say.
right. How, here's the question, and here's a hint, and here's how to dig. Ask yourself this question. How does it serve me to keep believing that? And don't say it doesn't serve me, because if it didn't, you wouldn't still do it.
Oh, well, then I'd have to put up or shut up.
Oh, all right. And what's so scary about putting up or shutting up?
Well, then you could get slapped down and kicked around.
By whom?
By those people who don't think that you should put up.
Those people. Ooh, scary, those people.
They are.
They are. No, they're not. You make them that way. You give them your power and make them use your power to scare you.
Right. Oh, I know this is all true.
Yes, but...
Well, so
But it
where's the
serves
magic
you.
wand?
But it serves you to not change it, because you believe that if you change it, things will actually get worse. That's your belief.
Oh.
You just said it. I'll have to put up or shut up, and that means somebody's going to try and slap me down. You just said it. If I actually make the change to be myself, I'm actually going to have more problems. So you're equating the idea of being yourself with even more difficulty, and that's, of course, why you don't move in that direction.
Right.
Because it's less beneficial in your mind to be yourself than it is to stay exactly where you are.
Right.
So you've made that equation, you've made that connection. There's the belief you need to deal with and find out why you have that belief and get in touch with being able to change that. You have to disassociate yourself from why you have that belief. You have to take it apart, disassemble it, and find out why you believe that being yourself is actually more dangerous than not being yourself. You have to find out the beliefs that support that idea.
Because I know how to piss off people really well.
But so what? So what if you, as you say, piss them off? So what? Who cares? I piss people off all the time, I'm sure, on your planet. I don't care. I know who I am. If they want to be pissed off, then let them be pissed off, because I love them enough to let them be pissed off at me.
But it's my fault if I piss them off. I've done something wrong. I haven't communicated clearly and effectively enough in order to avoid doing that. I'm bad. If that's the reaction I get, then I'm bad because I got a bad reaction.
I see. All right, well, poor you.
I know. Where are the tissues?
All right. Well, that's all right. You can say, okay, I messed up, I made a mistake, or I didn't. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Is this an opportunity for me to improve myself? Yes, it is. Will I use it that way? Yes, I will. Therefore, I've learned something from it. Yes, I have. I will move forward. Thank you. I've used it in a positive way.
Thank you.
Does that help?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more.
You see? They're applauding for you already. Your fear is groundless. You were yourself and they applauded. They didn't hate you. Any last remaining questions before we end this transmission for today?
Yes. Hello, Bashar.
Bizarre. The truth comes out. And your name is?
Oh, goodness. Well, that's a nice start, huh?
And your name is?
Angie.
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 All right.
How are you?
I'm perfect.
Bashar.
And you? You see, you can't offend me by mispronouncing the name because I don't actually have a name.
All right, cool.
Bashar is not
hook,
my
then.
name. Bashar is an earth word that means messenger. For that's what I am.
Wonderful. And a very good messenger you are. Thank you.
Well, the only reason I'm a good messenger is that I have so many good listeners.
You're right.
As bizarre as that may seem. So, Angie, what would you like to discuss?
Well, during the meditation, I was, I kept going to sleep, going unconscious during it. So
this is quite typical.
Is it quite normal?
It is.
Because
many people will
when
simply...
I woke up, you're going to be different than... I'm like, what did I miss?
Many people will simply innately and instinctively understand that they will absorb the information more deeply when they are asleep because their conscious mind is out of the way.
Okay.
So you instinctively did what you needed to do to know you will absorb the information as deeply as possible.
Okay. Well, I thought that was the case, but I wanted to
You
double
thought
check.
that was the case, but you doubted it, so you wanted to ask me anyway.
Exactly, and I was very tired today, so I
see.
wanted to make sure I'm not just missing something, as bizarre as that may sound.
Oops. There it is. You missed it right there.
I missed it.
You missed it by thinking you were missing it.
Oh, okay.
You get it?
I get it. I get
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you very
Does
much.
that help you?
Very much.
All right, then. Anyone else?
I just have a quick question, Bashar.
A quick question.
Well, I hope it's quick.
You hope it's quick.
Well, for everybody's sake here.
Seems to be taking a lot longer than you thought already.
This is true. Since time and space do not exist, when we choose to be born into a lifetime,
Yes.
why would someone choose to be born into a lifetime and way in what we call the past? And in other words, if my I'm being...
You are choosing experiences. Where within the experience of space-time that experience is most relevant is where you will pop in. It just appears to be on a timeline from within the time-space experience. But the experience is being had under the conditions in which it is relevant to have that kind of an experience. Does that make sense to you?
Yes and no. I understand that concept, but what I'm confused about is I assume we're dealing with lots of different themes in our lives
Yes.
rather than one.
Yes.
And so, assuming I'm dealing with lots of different themes, I might have had the lifetime I mentioned in England, but then I'm sure there are other lifetimes in other planets or places on this planet in times.
Yes.
So how are these all threaded together or woven together with my oversoul? That's where I'm confused.
They are part of the collective experience that your oversoul is having.
So does the oversoul have one particular agenda, or are we all learning different things and so the different lives are reflecting that?
The oversoul's only agenda is to experience all that it can.
So
Thus, in other words, why not that experience? Why not that experience? Why not that experience? The oversoul comes more from a position of why not than why.
And so all of our oversouls are just trying to experience everything.
They're not trying, they're
or they are
experiencing.
experiencing everything simultaneously. So
Yes.
And then what we're
In the same way that you experience all the fingers on your hand at the same time. Yet they all have a different function and are used in different ways. I won't raise that one. So, do you see the analogy? The hand is the oversoul. The fingers are the different lives existing simultaneously, each one for a different function, each one for a different reason, but without all of them, there's no hand. No experience of the total hand.
And I assume you'll talk about this more tomorrow, but then the oversoul communicates with all that is and says this is all the different lives. Who does the oversoul communicate with or decide?
Anyone it wants to.
So the oversoul just decides what lifetimes to experience simultaneously.
Should there be a program involved?
That's what I'm wondering. Is there one?
There can be, on different levels, even above the oversoul, in some senses, but it isn't necessarily as rigid as you might think in that context, especially not on those levels.
So it's not as if all that is has an agenda or a desire for...
All that is experiences all that is. Thus, nothing is left out. Nor by definition can it be.
But
So its only agenda is to simply be itself. And since it is all that is, it misses out on nothing. So it doesn't need to organize anything in that sense, in the form of a program or an agenda. It allows every component that it is to experience itself for what it was created to be. Otherwise, all that is isn't experiencing itself as all that is. If all that is actually tried to control everything that it was, it wouldn't actually experience itself as it actually is. That's why the whole concept of God's will is really a contradiction. Because the idea is that God doesn't need to will anything into existence because God is already everything in existence. Thus, any experience God wishes to have, it is already having. And doesn't need to force circumstances into any particular circumstance at all. If it's not experiencing itself in a certain way in one parallel reality, you can bet that it is in another. So why need to configure one reality a certain way when there's already another that already matches that configuration? And all that is already experiencing it.
So all that it is experiences it on its own.
Yes.
And then each oversoul experiences it on its own.
Just like each personality experiences life on its own.
Right. And is there a finite is that the pronunciation?
Finite?
Finite number of oversouls? Or is it endless number of oversouls?
Within the context of what you might recognize as the limitations of your physical universe, yes, there is a finite number of oversouls. Ultimately, is there a finite number of oversouls taking into account the existence of all that is? No, it is infinite.
Okay.
Does that help?
And then
I know that some of these things do not necessarily translate very well into your space-time reality.
It's giving me a better idea. And then how many lives does the oversoul decide that it's going to manifest in, or is that different for each individual?
It's different.
Okay. And are there any counterparts that we might even have in this room?
Absolutely.
How interesting.
You don't have to have lives in different time frames. You can have simultaneously concurrent lives going on in the same lifetime that you're having. And often many of you do. Let me put it this way. of what you call the approximately 6.5 billion physical people on the earth, there are actually only a couple of 100 million oversouls.
Wow.
You follow me?
Is one of my counterparts in this room?
I'm going to let you figure that out.
Thank you, Bashar.
And at this timing, we will remind you that we will continue this transmission tomorrow of your time, as far as linear time goes, with a continuation of the deepening of the idea of the soul blueprint and how this can be utilized in a number of different contexts. At this time, we find that it is timing to allow this transmission to cease, but continue in the blink of an eye that you call tomorrow. Good day.
Good day, Bashar.
How did it go?
Thank you.
Workshop. And I know this is going to be another really powerful day. Hope you found that to be the case yesterday. I know it is like the channeling's gone to another level, isn't it? It's just so powerful now. So that means we've all gone to another level too, because he needs the audience to be able to receive it. So congratulations to everyone on that side. So, okay, I'm going to turn it over to Daryl. I know it's going to be a great day. I don't know about you all, but I'm like energized and ready for this. So, okay, Daryl, thank you so much. We
Thank you.
very much appreciate what you do.
Thank you. Okay, we're done. Go home. That's all we wanted to say today. All right, have fun, everyone. Always. I'll have my own conversations. Yeah, you're welcome. That'll be my first book, My Life as a Telephone. Yeah, Bashar once said that in that context that then he was using ET&T to call here. I think it was really a mistake teaching them our humor. All right, have fun. will say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all?
Excellent.
All right, thank you very much. Before we begin with new information, let us continue the transmission with regard to questions on clarifications of yesterday's material. You may proceed.
Yes, good morning, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Thank you. Yesterday you were talking about changing thoughts.
Yes, changing
foundational
thoughts, changing feelings, changing beliefs.
Yes. And the foundational beliefs. I wonder if you have any suggestions as to techniques for doing that. It seems to be it's a very mental thing for me. And by the way, I love being around you because you make my brain sweat. However,
all right.
and today
Do you need to call a doctor?
I'm having a lot of heart opening today,
right.
and my question
So your
is...
heart is sweating too?
I hope not.
Why not? What is wrong with heart sweat?
Heart sweat is wonderful, but I don't think I want to work so hard to make it work.
Oh, all right. You don't have to work too hard.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so the question is,
Yes.
are there any specific techniques that would connect from the mind to the heart, to the feelings, to that inner knowingness, to make the changes in those deceptive foundational beliefs that are the untruths?
Yes, well, it all hinges on the facility that all of you possess that you call imagination. This is what your imagination is really brilliant at. That is making that connection, making that bridge. When you use your imagination, when you fully use it, it's not just a mental act. It is that which gets you in touch with what is in your heart of hearts. When you envision, when you imagine in that sense fully, when you picture, when you dream, when you allow yourself to unfold the image within you that is most representative of your excitement, of your joy, of the reality that you prefer, you will allow yourself to begin, as you create and crystallize that image fully, you'll begin to feel your relationship to it. And as you feel your relationship to it, you will be blending the idea of your mind and your heart and your spirit. You follow me? And your body.
Yes.
Imagination is the crucible in which all these other facilities and all these other vibrations can be melted together, blended together, and reformed into a new understanding of who and what you prefer to be as a person experiencing physical reality. Does this make some sense to you,
yes,
first of all?
It does. And could that be linked also to making a declaration, declaring and decreeing that my word is so?
Yes. And again.
And using my imagination?
Yes. And again. The idea is to allow your imagination to be your guide, because your imagination is specifically keyed to coming up with methodologies and tools that are specifically, shall we say, aligned to your vibration. In other words, your imagination is designed to come up with what techniques will work best for you specifically. That's what your imagination is for. You understand?
Yes.
So, when you say, is there a specific technique? Well, yes, but there are many techniques. Each individual will have a tool or a technique that will work best for him or her. So, even though there are some fundamental principles as we have shared them with you, your own imagination is your best guide for taking those fundamental tools, those fundamental principles we've already shared, and putting them together in a kit, in an order, in a methodology that works specifically best for you. So you must rely both on the information that you discover through your own synchronicities, through us, through any other avenue, what have you, but you must then blend that, put all that information within your imagination, and allow your imagination to put them in the proper order and use them in the proper way that's best for you. In that sense, you are amplifying them in that way by using your imagination with them, by using them in your imagination. Does that make sense?
Yes, indeed.
Is that sufficient to answer your question, or is there some other specific way in which you wish to explore this concept before we go on?
No, that's fine. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome.
Good day, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I would like a clarification on interactions that you have on a daily basis with people that say are negative, are depressing or in some way not positive to be around.
Well,
and
all right. Were you present when we delivered some of that information yesterday?
Yes, I was, and so that led to my question. What I usually do is just try to avoid these people. I don't find pleasure being around them,
all right.
and so I avoid them. But yesterday I got the impression that we might actually grow faster, or
you can, yes,
if we are around them.
You can, yes, and that is a purpose that they can positively serve. The idea, of course, is in some senses twofold. Number one, as you say, not so much a matter of avoidance, but a recognition that if someone is of a vibrational frequency that simply isn't compatible with your preferential reality, then yes, you do not necessarily have to associate with those people. And that's all well and good. And then in that context, you're also giving them, by behavioral example, an opportunity to understand a consequence of their action. In other words, if they want to interact with you, they will also have to change their frequency for you to want to interact with them. If they choose not to, then there will be no interaction, and that will be seen as a consequence of the vibration that they are choosing and the vibration that you are choosing. So in that sense, you can recognize that you may not have compatibility, and you don't have to associate, but you don't have to look at it as avoidance per se, because the idea is that if you simply are of a certain frequency, it will probably be less likely that you will simply allow for an arrangement to occur where you will encounter them as often or even at all. However, on the other side of that coin, as you say in your language, if you then, with that understanding, still do encounter someone of that vibration, then yes, you have exactly and precisely understood that it can be used still, nevertheless, in a positive way to accelerate your own growth, to enhance your own growth, and also perhaps still yet as an opportunity or a possibility for them to learn something as well by seeing how you respond to them. Do you follow?
Okay, I understand that, and they would see how I would respond, but
Yes.
what benefit am I getting around being people that are depressed and negative?
Well, you could help them perhaps alleviate their depression.
Only if they're receptive to it.
Of course. But again, it doesn't matter because it still can be used by you in a positive way. Use your imagination on this. And again, remember, simply and fundamentally, there is no mystery to the idea that you might keep running into people like this just because you're on Earth, and that's the way Earth is. Right now.
It is, and
so it is not an issue of attempting to avoid that. In other words, ultimately there really is, at this moment in your evolution, no way to completely avoid that. Because you have made an agreement to recognize that there are still going to be a number of people going through their own processes, probably still exhibiting a lot of negativity, and so on and so forth. And you simply have to allow yourself to recognize that's the atmosphere in which you exist right now. And it will eventually change. But not right now. Right now you are still capable of running into many different kinds of people with many different kinds of beliefs, many different kinds of attitudes, some of which are going to be highly incompatible with yours. But you have to trust the synchronicity of your life, in that if they are there in your life, if they do come in to your life, then there is something there that will help either you, them, or both of you, if you are willing to look at it from that perspective. Because again, you see, if you really are of a vibration that you say is the vibration of your preferred reality, then it won't matter to you who it is that comes into your life or who it is you interact with, because the interaction for you will always be positive, beneficial, and constructive, and allow you perhaps to exercise more compassion. You follow?
yes, it seems like as I think that I'm getting to be more positive,
Yes.
I'm actually running into more negative people.
But you see, then that's a good sign. It means
But,
you can handle it. Don't you get it? Remember when we said the idea is that growth on your planet at this time is not an exclusion principle, it's an inclusion principle. And the more light you create in your life, the more you will become aware of the dark that also exists in your reality. Becoming aware, more aware of more of the dark, means you are containing and radiating more of the light. So it's a good sign.
Except there's more and more people I don't want to be around.
But you see, you're judging it. And in
Yes.
judging it, you are matching their frequency, and that's why it's uncomfortable for you.
Okay.
It's uncomfortable not because you are actually staying in your frequency, it's uncomfortable because you're not staying in your frequency of preference.
Okay.
That's then, for you, obviously, one of the main reasons why you're attracting them, to show yourself that it is actually very easy for you to succumb to their vibration instead of staying in the one you prefer. And therefore, this is actually a constructive lesson for you, that it's easy for you to give up the reality of your preference in light of what they are offering you instead. And you don't have to.
So I would know that I have made a change when I'm around these people and I recognize that they're being negative or they're depressing, and I
Yes.
just don't respond to it in any way.
You respond to it in a positive way. But it
But I
doesn't
mean-
affect you in that sense.
Correct, that it doesn't
In
affect
a
me in
negative
any
way.
way. That's what I meant.
Negatively,
That it
yes.
doesn't affect me.
You can remain neutral with it if it does occur. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you can also make your own statements
Mm-hmm.
in a loving way. You can make a statement to a person to say, your energy in that sense is not really compatible with the preference of how I wish to experience my reality. Now, I'm willing to assist you as far as it goes, but you also have to recognize that you have the opportunity to change your energy, and if you choose not to, I will love you nonetheless, because I allow you to choose whatever it is you believe is best for your reality. But I will have to simply let you know that a consequence of your choice might be that we may not interact any longer, because I prefer not to have that energy in my reality. So you give them a choice. And in that sense, you put it on equal footing. At the same time, again, if they do keep coming into your life, it's still your opportunity to recognize that you don't have to give up the vibration of your preference just because they happen to be there. Otherwise, they are still simply giving you a chance to recognize that it's easy for you to give up your preference.
Okay.
Does that help you?
Yes. I also had a question about that you said that we're on the threshold of change and...
Well, of course, you're going through it rapidly.
But it seems like there's still a lot of violence and...
Yes.
And
Yes.
You read the paper and it doesn't
Yes.
seem like there's a big change, and
All right,
in general,
once again, please pay attention.
Okay.
The closer you get to the light, the more darkness will appear.
Okay.
Did I not just say that a moment ago?
Yes.
Well, then why would it be surprising to you that you will see more violence coming out? The idea, once again, is that as you close in on the threshold, you are giving yourself an opportunity to get all of the old stuff out of your system. But in order to get it out of your system, you have to get it out on the table in front of your face first. You have to see what's going on so that you can see that you can make a difference and make a change. But in order to make that change, you have to know what it is you are changing. And to know what it is you are changing, you have to see more of what it is you've been hiding under the table. So the closer you get to the light, the more capable you are of allowing the darkness that has been suppressed to come to the surface. So of course, there will appear to be at first more negativity, more violence. You're getting it all out in the open so that you can really finally see what the choices are, dark and light, and allow yourself to choose the reality you really prefer. But that's a symptom of growth. It's a symptom of change, that everything will be there, not just one side. Everything has to be there before the change can really sink in.
It seems
Does
like
that make sense to you?
Yes.
All right.
It seems
You
like
say that with some resignation.
it's okay. Here's a resignation.
Why isn't that
it
exciting to you? Why are you not defining that as exciting, knowing that that's a symptom that you're getting closer to crossing that threshold, instead of looking at it as if somehow there's something wrong?
Because I hear what you're saying, and I believe it on a global basis, but on an everyday basis, when you talk to people you work with or people that you meet,
Yes.
and they're just struggling to get by, they're not
Yes.
even asking questions, much less looking for answers. So
So?
there's I don't see a lot of growth.
So,
I mean, outside
not
of-
everyone on your planet will change.
But the
you know.
majority are not.
Not everyone on your planet will change, and it may not even be the majority that will. That is not going to stop the idea of a transition. If in your mind you require a majority to go into the light in order for the entire world to change, perhaps you just don't understand the physics.
Perhaps.
The idea is this. Positive energy is integrative and geometrically powerful in that direction. Negative energy is segregative. And in that sense, it requires fewer people going in the positive to outweigh the amount of people staying in the negative.
Okay.
This is the idea behind the phrase that exists in your society of the 144,000. It means many other things as well. But the point is that if you actually have only 144,000 individuals vibrating above a certain frequency level on your planet in a positive energy format, those 144,000 will actually energetically outweigh the other several billion who may be still in negativity, because the several billion in negativity are not functioning cohesively.
Okay.
Whereas the 144,000 are functioning geometrically cohesively. So in that sense, their energy completely outweighs the other billion individuals who are not functioning cohesively.
I see that.
Does that help you understand the
Yes.
process?
Yes.
Then take heart. All right?
Okay.
Remember that as you shift and as you change, bit by bit, day by day, literally into new realities every moment, ultimately, yes, you will only ultimately, not right now, ultimately see only those operating on the same level with you. But the population of the world may not be the same in that new reality.
Okay.
Do you understand? Does that help you?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, all right.
And how that applies.
One moment.
Okay.
This is something that was discussed for those of you who were not participating in the first part of the transmission yesterday. The idea that one of the strongest focal points that you can get to in life is to understand that it all comes down to discerning the difference between whether or not a person, yourself included, is operating under either the illusion of power or operating from the power of the illusion. Go ahead.
Okay. I was thinking about this a lot yesterday and how it applies in the struggles that I'm facing.
Oh, all right, the struggles you are facing.
I was trying to,
So in other words, you're already into the idea of the illusion of
power, right. And
just by
shifting that.
defining them as struggles. But I understand what you mean. I don't want to take your pain away from you if you want to hold on to it.
Okay. I think I've been,
I know how much your pain means to some of you. I know how dear it is to most of you. And I know it's an old friend you don't want to say goodbye to. So by all means, continue.
well, I understand that, and I
Yes,
look,
I know.
I'm
That's
looking
why
at
I'm
those
having some
beliefs.
fun with you.
Yeah, those beliefs that say that that's an old friend.
Yes.
But I look at the power of illusion.
Yes. The power of the illusion.
The illusion that we're disconnected.
Yes. If you understand it as an illusion, then you are empowered. If you think it's real, you are suffering under the illusion of power.
Okay. Now,
It's a real experience. The experience you're having is real, but the reality is an illusion.
okay, I get that.
Oh, all right. Then how would you like to apply what it is you are getting to what it is you are not getting?
I'm not getting how I'm sort of thinking a lot about my daily life and what I feel about my daily life.
All right. What do you
And
feel
how-
about your daily life?
Well, I feel like, I think that I'm in the illusion of power, thinking that if I can control these certain elements in my
Yes.
daily life, that
Yes.
that will give me power.
And what do you mean by control them?
Well, if I could just get to those things that are weighing on my mind.
Such as, for example?
Just the daily things.
Just the daily things, such as?
Cleaning out the closets.
Yes.
Okay?
Well, where's the hesitation in doing that if it's something you actually want to do?
There's a lot of resistance.
Because?
Because I'm holding on to that struggle.
Because of how you're defining the idea of cleaning out your closet. How are you defining it that you would resist it?
As a chore and something taking away from time that I could be doing something else.
And why are you defining it that way if it's something you say you want to do? Did I ask a good question?
Yeah.
All right. Cleaning out your closet. Let me ask you another question. If the closet were cleaned out, how would you feel?
Better.
Well, then why don't you clean it out?
Because I'm used to not feeling good.
You're used to not feeling good.
I have this resistance. That
so
I
you
don't
like
have
not
time.
feeling good?
I don't. But
You
I
don't?
have these. Yep.
Are you sure? You sound like you like it. You sound like you really enjoy not feeling good.
Yeah, I know.
Now, you have a sense, an inkling, as you say, that you could feel good and that it might feel good to feel good, but you're not sure that it would feel as good to feel good as it feels to not feel good.
That's exactly right.
Well, where does that belief come from? If you know that cleaning out the closet would feel really good, it would feel what? Freeing?
I would feel happier when I walk in my house.
You would feel happier when you walk in your house. Then here is another question for you. And this is a question for all of you. And it gets to the heart of some of the difficulties you have. Why is the act having been done not the same as the doing of the act? Why do you make a separation and a distinction and a difference between those two ideas? Why do you make it two ideas? The act of doing is the act done. The energy is the same. Another way of saying this is that the end is the means. The means are the end. There is no such thing as the idea of justifying the end and the means being different. Whatever the means are is the end. It's one and the same. The illusion of power that you're falling into is that these are two separate things. The cleaning of the closet and the closet already being cleaned, you are creating that to look like two separate things. It's the same thing. The act is the act done. The joy of having it be cleaned can be the joy of cleaning it if you see no separation. We have done a little bit of an analogy with people from time to time to illustrate this point a little bit more strongly and help anchor it into your body consciousness a little bit more fully. Do you have a coin?
I think I can get one.
Will someone provide a coin?
Here, I've got one. Okay.
All right. Now, will you please do us a favor and put the coin down on the floor?
Okay.
Did you do that?
Yes.
All right. Are you standing up now?
Okay.
Is the coin on the floor? Yep. All right. Now, will you pick up the coin? Did you?
Yeah.
Was there an effort involved?
No.
Why not?
It was very simple.
Well, what's the difference then between that and what you're talking about? What's the difference? It is that simple. The doing of a thing that you want to do is immediately done when you associate with that thing the energy through the entire act. You follow me? Maybe you should assume that your closet is full of coins and that picking them all up will make you very rich at the end.
Okay.
This is how You can use your imagination to use what does work for you in an area that doesn't seem to work for you.
Okay.
So turn your clutter into coins.
Okay.
Using your imagination, and feel the same degree of richness, freedom, and abundance you would feel if you were in fact picking up dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of coins. You follow me? This is one way you can use your imagination in this way.
Oh, that's great.
Is this helping you
Very helpful.
to unlock this assumption that the doing of a thing is not the same thing as the thing done?
Yes, it does.
It is all one thing. It is all one thing. The reason that many of you create difficulty in this area of your lives is because you have been taught to be goal-oriented. The doing of the thing itself is the reason for the thing, not the end result. In fact, there actually never is an end result, ever. Because your life, in that sense, goes on. Your existence goes on. There is no end result, ever. Because you will never reach the end. Ever. Did I mention ever? So while you can certainly envision an idea, and while you can certainly manifest it in a process that seems to have steps that might ultimately result in a certain kind of a manifestation, stop looking at that as an end result or a goal. The only goal you have is to be yourself as fully as you can. It is the only goal all of you have. It's the same goal. You all have the same purpose, the same mission in life, to live your life as fully as you can. So define it in the way you prefer to, and live that way in the moment, every moment, because this moment is the only moment there is. Always. It's always now, isn't it? No matter when you look, it's always now, isn't it? It may be a different perspective of now, but it's always the same now, because there is only one now. Only one. And everything you consider to be a different moment is actually the same now looked at from a different perspective, a different point of view. That's all it is. So that's why they say, be here now. It's actually because that's the only place you can be. But when you pretend, by falling under the illusion of power, that you can actually be somewhere else, you focus on the idea of the future, the goal out there, someday to achieve, then you are not focused where you actually exist. And thus then you find that in paradoxically falling under the illusion of power, thinking you're controlling your reality by reaching out toward a goal in that way and detaching yourself from the present, you actually paradoxically give up all the power in the present you actually have. Because you're not in it anymore. Because the present is the only point of power there is. Because it's the only place you exist. So when you try to control by achieving a goal out there someday in the future, you leave all your power behind in the present, where it waits patiently for you to come back, so that you actually can be in control. This is the paradox of surrender. When you talk about the idea of surrendering, you're not actually giving up control, you're giving up the illusion of control and surrendering to the power you actually have, which allows your life to automatically and effortlessly work in every moment, because in every moment there is joy. Being in that moment, no matter what it is that needs doing in that moment, is filled with the same joy because it's being done in that moment, in that energy. And no separation is being made between the act doing and the act done. Is all of this helping you?
It's beautiful. Thank you.
Then thank you.
Thank you for the present.
You are welcome. Thank you for unwrapping your present.
Bashar?
Yes, good day.
Good day. Could you add a little more about the the power of the illusion? Because I think you've really clearly explained the illusion of power.
Well, it's what I just described. The idea is that the concept of surrender is the concept of recognizing that all you're actually giving up is the illusion of control. The idea is that when you understand it is an illusion, then there's nothing out there to manipulate. The idea of falling under the illusion of power is the idea that you have to control your outer reality to make things happen. The idea of falling back into the power of the illusion is in recognizing it is an illusion and there's nothing there to manipulate, you fall back into your true power, which is the cessation of trying to manipulate. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So when you know it's an illusion, why would you manipulate it? It's like trying to take your shadow on the ground and stretch it into another shape instead of just moving your body to change the shape. You see, again, the analogy of the shadow, the analogy of the reflection in the mirror, is that the point of power is here with you. And not out there in the mirror, not over there in the shadow. If you want the shadow to change its shape, if you want the reflection to smile instead of frown, you don't go to the mirror and try to make the reflection smile. You don't go to the shadow and try to make it change its shape. You smile or you change your shape. The mirror reflection must then change. The shadow must then change. That's when you are understanding the power of the illusion instead of the illusion of power. Make sense?
So you basically redefine the situation so
Yes.
that you can smile.
Yes.
And then you're using the power of the illusion.
Yes. Because it all comes from you first. Nothing in the illusion can happen without it coming from you first. This is the third law of creation. What you put out is what you get back. But if you think that what's out there is how you change what's in here, then you're working it backwards. I'm not saying you cannot use the outer reality as an incentive to allow yourself to feel capable of making the change. But then you're using the reality as a proper tool. But if you assume that somehow the outer reality has control over whether or not you change, then you are falling into the illusion of power instead of using the power of the illusion. Using the power of the illusion means you can recognize reality as an illusion, but you can recognize it as an effective reflection. And you can train yourself by creating or changing, making changes in the outer reality that are reflective of what you know inside you truly are. And if you understand that it is simply a reflection, then it can be a powerful tool. But if you think the power is actually out there in that reality and that you can't change without it, then you're succumbing once again to the illusion instead of the power. Make sense?
Absolutely.
Does that help?
Yes, it does very much. Thank you.
Are there any more clarifications before we move forward with information?
Yes, there are.
All right.
I'm wondering if you could say a little bit more or clarify a little more the subject of the oversoul. We were talking about that just before we ended yesterday.
Yes.
And the question I wanted to ask was, is there an ultimate mission or trajectory of an oversoul, a process with a goal or a...
The oversoul is not exactly goal-oriented.
Well, okay.
It's experientially oriented.
Yes, but is there again a sense of purpose, as we might define purpose, to the experience? In other words, what I'm wondering
Well,
is...
loosely, perhaps you could define it as purpose, maybe.
Well, what I was thinking of more specifically was when we have the appearance of a great teacher or
Yes.
an avatar such as Christ or Buddha
Yes.
or someone like that.
Yes.
Does this represent a process of integration
Yes.
of an oversoul where the various parts of it have
Yes.
really flourished and expressed as much divinity
Yes.
as individually possible within those
Yes.
parts so that
Yes.
they then are
Yes.
absorbed
Yes.
into one?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And the idea of what you typically on your planet refer to as Christ consciousness, Buddha nature, Krishna spirit, is actually the oversoul of oversouls. In other words, it's the oversoul of the collection of oversouls that make up all the individuals on your planet. It's the oversoul of Earth itself and all the consciousness associated with it. That's the level you're talking about when you refer to that level. It's an oversoul of oversouls. Does that make sense?
Yeah, very, very much so. Another question I had kind of on the same topic was, I have assumed, in a sense, that part of the deal.
The deal?
The deal, yeah. I mean, I look at it in terms of a deal between,
all right.
say, the creator.
Did you read the fine print?
Well, yeah, this is important.
Yes.
The deal.
Yes.
Between the creator consciousness that manifests worlds and universes and individuals,
yes.
people,
yes.
and the individuals that are experiencing this process,
yes.
is that every so often this kind of manifestation will occur to remind us,
yes,
of what we're ultimately capable of, that it is part of the process of physical manifestation of worlds.
All right. Well,
is
that's
that
one
true?
way to look at it, but you have to understand that the way you have phrased it is quite symbolic and not necessarily interpretable on other levels in the same way. It's not so much a deal as it is simply a natural result of the nature of all that is.
Well, the periodic visitation, as it were, of
well,
such
let me put it to you
individuals
another
serve
way.
as a reminder.
Well, yes and no. Let me put it to you another way. All that is aware of the fact that such manifestations can serve as a reminder, is completely aware of the ability of that manifestation to function that way, and obviously then there is reason for such a manifestation to exist within all that is that serves that purpose. But from the viewpoint of all that is, it is more like unto the understanding that it is a natural result of the way in which all that is sees itself. It's more like the idea of the deal that all that is has with itself, to be itself in all the ways that it can. So in being itself in all the ways it imagines that it can, then that's one of the ways that are possible within all that is to be. Therefore, it must be one of the things that happens. It's not like it made a specific deal to make sure that would happen at specific times or anything of that nature. It simply is one of the ways all that is can be, and so it is.
Well, there's a passage in the Bhagavad Gita where
yes.
Krishna is saying to Arjuna that any time that the balance of light and darkness, or positivity and negativity in
yes.
the world, good and evil, when that balance threatens to be overthrown by the darkness,
yes.
that is the moment in which this kind of
I see.
A manifestation
What
occurs.
you are referring to simply is that the existence of all that is has a built-in self-regulating mechanism, and this is true. In other words, the way we have often phrased it is, in actual fact, if you wish to look at the totality of creation, it's actually slightly biased toward the positive. And what I mean by this is this. There is what you classically understand to be the positive side, the negative side. But then there is also a point in the center that is neutral, yes?
Right.
Well, the idea of finding yourself in a neutral place still gives you the opportunity to choose which side you wish to go to, which way you want to go. And therefore, even the idea of neutrality is itself slightly positive. So you could actually say that in essence, the universe is actually 51% positive and 49% negative. Therefore, the self-regulating mechanism is that it will always, in a sense, churn itself directionally back toward the positive in whatever manifestations need to occur to represent that current that exists within the matrix of existence itself. Does that make sense?
Yes, but how does this fit into the concept of the yugas? You know, those periods that we look at historically, where there is.
It's simply a physiological translation of the idea that there are cyclic currents within existence that often represent themselves over and over again in a variety of ways. But that's simply the nature of all that is. That is the nature of all that is expressing itself in whatever dimensional domain it can express itself in whatever way is relevant to that dimensional domain. In other domains, it expresses itself quite differently other than in what you recognize as periodicity. Periodicity is simply the way that is translating that particular essence or nature of all that is into a space-time framework. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Does that help?
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other clarifications required?